This is how I went from drawing like this to this in about 6 months. Okay, so first I traced. I traced photos to get the hang of the lines and the shapes of anatomy and the facial structures. I broke the body down into easy shapes. I traced the skeleton. I traced muscle groups. And over time, I got better. I traced faces and heads from as many angles as possible. I pulled random photos off Pinterest for all of this, by the way. None of these photos are mine. Please don't yell at me. Make sure that you're breaking the body down into shapes that make sense to you. Don't just copy what everyone else does. Don't just copy how everyone else breaks down shapes unless what they are doing is helpful to you. As long as the shapes make sense and it makes it easier for you to draw, that's perfectly fine. Trace anything that you struggle to draw. If you struggle to draw facial features specifically, then focus on tracing eyes, noses, mouths, etc. If you struggle to draw hair, start by tracing hair. If you struggle to draw clothes, start by tracing clothes. And just go from there. Trust me, it'll get better. Second, draw. I know you're tired of hearing this, but that's because it's the truth. Draw as often as possible, but once you get comfortable, move on to drawing something different. Improvement involves learning new things over and over again. So when you get good at drawing eyes, move on to noses, then move on to mouths, ears, maybe even hands if you're brave enough. Utilize all of the shapes that you learned whenever you were tracing. And remember, you don't have to make these look pretty because unless you're making a YouTube video like me, these aren't going to be posted anywhere. These are just for you and you alone to get better at what you're doing. Draw things from different angles, work on perspectives. Draw shapes and how they interact with each other. Just keep drawing and eventually you'll start to get comfortable with all of the shapes that you're using. After tracing muscle groups, I would draw the muscle groups with the reference that I used whenever I traced, and the same with facial structures and skeletons. Do whatever is the most helpful for you whenever you are learning. Third, experiment. After drawing face after face after face, I started experimenting. I experimented with textures, with brushes, with colors. If you like how an artist draws eyes and how another artist draws mouths, try drawing those styles in the same art piece. After a lot of experimenting, I eventually drew this, and I was really proud of it. I love the colors I used, the brushes I used, and from there I feel like my art started to look more like what I wanted my art to look like. Watch multiple art videos, learn about all the techniques that others have used, and find what works for you. And you may be asking, how's my anatomy? Well, it's a work in progress, but I am still improving, and I'm definitely better than I was 6 months ago. Here I am redrawing that first art piece you see in the thumbnail about, I want to say like 3 or 4 months later. Huh? And it already looks so much better after just a few months. I still have a long way to go before I'm at the level of improvement that I'd like to be at, but I'm still really proud of the art that I make now. Just keep experimenting and find your art style. Art styles are just morphed collages of other art styles, so I believe in you. Summary. First, trace. Break everything down into shapes. Second, draw. When you get good at drawing something, draw something else. And third, experiment. Use different brushes, textures, colors, etc. And that is how I improved my art to be at the level I'm at now. I honestly love how much I've improved. I love how I use shading. I love how I use colors and textures and brushes. And I feel like I've definitely gotten the hang of drawing faces. So next I will be working on anatomy and backgrounds and stuff like that. Thank you so much for watching and happy drawing!